So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Roma Theory. It's a massive day. You could not have written it up. Felix, ex-Roma player, gets kicked out from the club and eliminates Napoli from the Coppa Italia, leaving Roma a fairly easy path, we should say, to reach the Coppa Italia final. No path is easy, no team is easy to face, especially because Cremonese just beat Napoli, so anything can happen. But it is also fair to say that we are the favourites now to reach the Coppa Italia final in the right-hand side of the table, because we're going to play against Cremonese, and the winner of that game plays the winner of the game against Fiorentina and Torino, due to the fact that Milan got thrown out too. You know, very lucky indeed, but again, it's insane. It literally was scripted. Felix with a header goal. Like, Felix scored with his head. And he also scored the winning penalty to throw Napoli out. Yes. So, it's good. I mean, it's massive because we have avoided a double consecutive game against Napoli both times in Naples. We've avoided that. Thanks to Felix, which got criticised by Roma fans for rating Van Alden's tibia. He's back going. He's back loved, we should say. But we're not going to speak about that. You know, very good because, as I just said, we are now the favourites on that right-hand side of the tournament. On the other right-hand side, we've still got teams like Inter, Atalanta, Juventus and Lazio, which are going to play this week. So, but yeah, I mean, we can easily reach the final. It can easily be done. And in fact, this live stream is about Mourinho and about how, in fact, in these past hours, Mourinho and the Friedkins are already, not in advanced talks, but are already discussing a potential Jose renewal, something which Jose would absolutely love and something which the Friedkins would absolutely love. There need to be some things which need to happen in order for Jose to renew his contract, and some of these things are not linked to our end-of-year performances. And this is why I went live today, because I want to talk about this. I want to talk about future projects and have Jose sees himself as a Roma manager in the long term, but you know, is asking some things to the Friedkins, which have to be done in order to maybe see Jose sign his contract yet again and extend his contract at the club. But one thing which I have to say when it comes to speaking about Jose is that this season, I think Jose has targeted Coppa Italia. I think this season, Jose is targeting the Coppa Italia the Coppa Italia trophy. Because, and to be fair, he, you know, good on him that he's targeting in that, because we can easily get to the final. Like, if we avoid stabbing ourselves in the back, we are gonna get into the final. In order for us not to get in the final, we have to lose against Cremonese, who are last, bottom of the league. And we would also have to lose if we win that game against a winning team between Fiorentina and Torino. We just beat Fiorentina. And yeah, we drew against Torino, but that was the lowest team of the season so far. You see, in order for us not to get in a Coppa Italia final, we really have to play it hard. And one thing which Jose is gonna do, unlike Napoli yesterday, is he's gonna start his starting 11 against Cremonese. We've seen this. Jose knows that the squad hasn't got depth. Napoli yesterday lost because Osimhen got subbed in the last 10 minutes. Kvara was unavailable. Otherwise, Napoli would have battered them. But it's fair to say we can't let this go, because it's a good chance. Because let me tell you one thing. If Mourinho gives to these fans a second trophy in 2 consecutive years, some of these fans are going to die of happiness. It's something which is unbelievable. 2 consecutive trophies at this club. In fact, I don't think it's ever happened. So it would be spectacular. So that is why he's really targeting the Coppa Italia. Obviously, Coppa Italia is a massive thing. If we get top 4 too, then wow. But I wouldn't mind sneaking a little trophy. I'm sure everyone here wouldn't mind sneaking a little trophy in their cabinet, because now that a few events have happened, Milan and Napoli both crashed out, we can get into the final. We really can. We've got high chances of getting in the final. In fact, there's also a potentially high chance of seeing Roma Lazio in the Coppa Italia final. It's gonna be brutal. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about this procedure of renewal of contract. It's fair to say Jose sees himself as a long-time Roma manager. Fair to say, 100%. It's also very fair to say that in order for Jose to see himself as a full-time Roma manager, some things have to be done from the Friedkins. And I've read a few articles which say how his extending Jose's contract is not an impossible thing. It all depends on the Friedkins. Because what this article I read said, which is coming from a Corriere dello Sport, which is a big source, it's like the biggest newspaper, football newspaper in Italy. It's saying how if we get something big, a trophy, Coppa Italia, top 4, yes, the chances will increase. But the chances of seeing Jose renew his contract with Roma are not fully dependent on our end of season objectives. In order to see Jose sign and extend his contract at Roma, there needs to be two things which need to happen. And we're going to talk about these two things in a second. In fact, let's get into it already. If you haven't already, smash that like button, everyone do it, and subscribe to the channel. Two things Jose's asking from the ownership. And this is something, it's not going to happen now. Season is going to end, and then in order for Jose to extend, these two things need to happen in the summer. The first thing is Jose would like, doesn't want, but would like a more powerful position at the club. Therefore, he also wants to play a massive part in being the general director of the club. Therefore, in negotiations, in actually thinking about the transfer market, actually convincing players. Therefore, what Thiago Pinto is doing, Jose wants to be a part of. This really doesn't mean that there won't be a general director. If it will be Thiago Pinto, if it won't be Thiago Pinto, the fact that Jose would like to be more involved in the general director job doesn't mean that there won't be a general director. It means that the general director and Jose Mourinho will share the job. Sharing the job means working together. Right now, this job is being completely committed by Thiago Pinto. Thiago Pinto is the one who's responsible to buy players, sell players, start negotiations, give call-ups to players, and all of that. That's what Thiago Pinto is currently responsible for. Jose wants to be a part of that because Jose is really good at doing that. Jose is really good at convincing players. Jose is really good at starting negotiations. Therefore, what I think Jose wants is the ownership to make him more involved in the transfer market. And this also links to the fact that if you have Jose as a general director, for example, it's going to be easier to buy players. Right now, one of the reasons why, we've discussed already, one of the reasons why Jose is not massively happy with ownership is because due to financial fair play, they can't be spending much money. If he's there doing Thiago Pinto's job right now, we would definitely expect more players to come because he's there involved. He knows what's happening. Now, another thing to understand is that Jose having a more responsible job in the general director side doesn't mean that we won't have financial fair play. Forget that. Financial fair play rules, financial fair play fines will be there. But by being more involved in it, you're also being more susceptible to it. And you see, this is something which you definitely tell Jose left from the Prem. This is something which in the Premier League works really well. This is something which Premier League clubs, it works really well between them. And you can tell that Jose wants to bring these Premier League philosophies to this area because, he's already brought a massive Premier League philosophy to this area. Experimenting with youngsters. That's something which, that's why Jose is the manager out of all Serie A managers who starts more academy players. Because that's something which comes automatic in the Premier League. They do it every game. And you see, experimenting with young players, using players from your academy is definitely another thing which Jose has brought from the Premier League. Which is, it's massive. It can be revolutionary to the entire league. You know, this league is a backwards league. This league is a league which needs a lot of improvement. And if you explore academy teams, grow them even more, it's definitely gonna kind of forget that backward vibe and become more of a futuristic kind of league. So that's the first thing which Jose wants. The second thing which Jose wants, in order to to potentially think about renewing his contract, is, it kind of links to what he wants right now, which is players. He wants the Friedkins to invest money. He wants the Friedkins in he effectively wants the Friedkins to buy him the players he wants. But he also understands, and I think this is something which he's understood over these past almost 2 years as a Roma manager, he understood that you can't get 100% of what you ask for at the club. Therefore, Jose is kind of asking 80% of what he asks for in the transfer market, he hopes that the Friedkins will achieve. That's another thing which he wants backing on. That's another thing which he wants confirmations on. And in fact, we also have a list which I've read from this article, mentioning 3 names of 3 players which Mourinho is gonna target this summer if he remains a Roma manager. These 3 players are Wilfried Zaha from Crystal Palace, already linked to the Roma, free agent in the summer, Sofian Amrabat in the midfield, and Per Schuurs from Torino, ex-Ajax player in defence. 1 player from every position, maybe add a goalkeeper to it. And, this is the list which Jose in the summer will present to the ownership. He expects 80% of this list, he wants 80% of this list to be achieved. These are the 2 things which Jose wants in order to extend his contract at Roma, which means that his action of kind of prolonging his life at Roma is not linked. I mean, it definitely weighs a lot, but it is not directly linked to what we achieved this season. In other words, for example, if we don't get top 4, but the Friedkins give him a more responsible general director position and get him these 3 players which I mentioned, Jose will stay. That's what this article is trying to say. But I mean, coming close onto these 3 players which I just mentioned, Wilfried Zaha, we already talked about, linked to Roma. We've shown interest since this summer. He's a free agent in the summer, so he's someone which Jose would absolutely love. Sofian Amrabat is second, and after the Fiorentina game on Sunday, there were images of Mourinho and Amrabat speaking to each other, going like that in front of their mouth. I don't want the media to see what I'm saying. And as football fans, we already are starting to imagining what that conversation was about. Was it about Jose trying to convince Sofian Amrabat to join Roma in the summer? He's a beast. I mean, if we get these 3 players and you add them to Dybala's quality, Pellegrini's quality, Tammy's quality, and at the end of the day, 1 player will have to be sacrificed. And let's say it's Nico, because as things stand, he's the player who gives me the impression will leave the most in the summer to kind of get the money monetized from. If we get these 3 players, add them to Dybala, keep Smalling, for example. That's another thing which Mourinho would love, keeping Smalling. That would massively improve the team. So, you see, Jose wants to continue with Roma. The Friedkins want to continue with Jose. These 2 things are very connected. If one thing wants one thing and the other thing wants the same thing, then the chances of seeing this thing happen are going to increase. But in order for the extension of the contract to happen, these few things need to happen for Jose to get a confirmation from the ownership. And I mean, one of the in fact evidence which shows us that Jose wants to stick with Roma is it literally came a few weeks ago. It came because he said no to the Portugal and Brazilian job. If you say no to a Portugal job and a Brazilian job. Yes, it could be argued that he is not a national team manager, and we've discussed this. But in a moment of time, a few weeks ago, where Jose was really getting no confirmations from the ownership, the financial fair play were kind of destroying her January transfer market hopes, and have most probably destroyed her January transfer market hopes. In such a low moment, Brazil approached him and said, I want you as a national team manager. And Mourinho said no. And the only reason to explain this, other than the fact that he wants to end the season with Roma, is that he wants to continue with Roma. And that's effectively another confirmation, which in my opinion says he's happy here. He just wants more from the ownership. If he gets more of that ownership, from the ownership, then he's going to be the happiest. He's going to be like, give candy floss to a kid. So this is something to acknowledge. He's very happy here. He's loving life. And let me tell you one thing. If we were to win Coppa Italia, the amount of enthusiasm, listen to me right now, because I don't think the world is ready. I mean, again, let's not jinx anything. But it's also true to say that we are the favorites to get in the final. We are. We truly are. You see, don't jinx things, superstitious and all of that. We are the favorites in playing the Coppa Italia final now. We truly are. Will we win the Coppa Italia? Will we get thrown out by Cremonese? I can't tell. I don't know in the future. But let me tell you one thing. If we lift the Coppa Italia in May, the year after, in fact, 1 year after we lifted the Conference League, the amount of enthusiasm within the Roma fans is going to be unmeasurable. And the second Jose receives the enthusiasm, if we were to hypothetically win Coppa Italia, Jose is gonna stay. If you bring 2 consecutive trophies to a club like Roma, you're automatically, without a doubt, the best manager in the history of the club. That's why the importance of a Coppa Italia game this season is so important. And now that Milan and Napoli have both crashed out and have given us massive hopes, we can do this. It's in our hands. Faith is in our hands to get into the final. Then winning it, we shall see who we get. But to get in the final, the only way we can't get in a Coppa Italia final is if we lose the ball away from our hands. We've got the ball in our hands. We're the favourites in getting in the Coppa Italia final. The only way to bottle it is if we lose this ball from our hands. But if we win Coppa Italia, expect massive things. Expect massive things. If we get Coppa Italia and get far in Europa League, not necessarily winning it, but even semi-final of Europa League, I think would be a massive success. What I'm trying to say here is Coppa Italia can be the key to this season. It really can. And another thing which I'll say is, again, we'll reach to this when we play the Coppa Italia game. But you see, we play Napoli next Saturday, not this weekend coming, but the next weekend. We play Napoli, and then on Tuesday we play Cremonese in the Coppa Italia. I would start the best team against Cremonese in the Coppa Italia, just because I don't think people realize how much winning another trophy would mean to the entire city. But yeah, I mean, big day today. We've got the Super Coppa between the 2 Milan teams. I think Inter will win it. Inter is definitely living a better moment than Milan. But Inter Milan tonight, in fact, it's starting in like 20 minutes in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And then tomorrow, we've got the last 3 games of the Coppa Italia to actually see if there are any upsets in the other side of the table. So it's very interesting for us because we're the favorites on the right-hand side. It's definitely very interesting to see if there could be any upsets which could further increase the chance of us lifting the Coppa Italia trophy in May. When is it? May or April? Don't know. Don't care. Let's think about step by step. But yeah, let me tell you one thing. If we win Coppa Italia, Felix has to get recalled. That's all I'll say. Director or no director, Jose only wants to win. For that, he wants desired players. We should get Ozil or Isco as a player. Ozil, mate. Ozil's like 88 years old. We can win the Europa League. If Dak W says it, then we'll believe in it. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's important live stream today. Important live stream. I've enjoyed it because it's good news. It's good news. It's good news from... and you see, this also links to what I was saying in the match preview of the Fiorentina. You know, last week when we were saying how, you know, tensions weren't the best at the club because Mourinho and Thiago Pinto were kind of agreeing on two different things. I said that it wouldn't take a massive job to get the enthusiasm back. We won 2-0 against Fiorentina, and 3 days after, we've got news of Mourinho potentially extending his contract. That means enthusiasm back. Enthusiasm is definitely not to the levels that it was the 25th of May. Jose still wants more from the club. Jose still would want more from the club. But again, if we win 3-0 against La Spezia on Sunday, that enthusiasm is slowly, gradually going to get back. And in less than we'll ever see it, Jose will be back as the happiest man on earth. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I will catch you tomorrow's Thursday. I'll catch you tomorrow. If you haven't already, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the link of my channel with your families and friends. And yeah, smash that like button. If everyone in the stream right now can take 2 seconds to smash that thumbs up, that massive thumbs up, it would support me a lot. So please do it. And I will catch you tomorrow. Simon out.